Hey everybody, thank you for coming out. I just wanted to ask, we're talking a lot about, you guys are talking a lot about resistance and self-determination and restorative justice, and I was wondering in the sort of ways to kind of envision our future society, and in ways that we're trying to transform our society. How can we have, what are the things that we can do to not just transform ourselves, but transform everyone else, and to make our society a more inclusive place for everyone? And how we can have a more society which actually not just includes people, but loves each other.
Well, while the panelists figure out who wants to say what, responding to your question in itself, I think it's important that we be thinking about how we're framing that conversation and what does it mean when we say our society, and what are we trying, when we think about reshaping and revamping, transforming society, where are we going with that? Are we going in a direction that is with the continuation of the occupation of these lands, with the continued dispossession of indigenous people from their homelands, with continued anti-Black racism, with continued cis supremacy, like all of these different systems? Is that where we're going? And if we're not going there, then what do we need to be thinking about?
I think this also ties into the question that was asked earlier about exploring identity and building with folks who have similar backgrounds or identities. I hope I'm not misrepresenting the question, and avoiding being too sectarian, which is something that I definitely struggle with. I mean, we're here, we open this panel talking about the need to create confrontational spaces, and I really appreciate that phrase, and it's
thanks,
accurate. And holding these politics, having these conversations will get you kicked out of spaces. It will create
kicked out of houses.
Kicked out of houses for sure. It's not a process of making friends all the time, but where you do find that community and make that community, you start loving each other and building community there. There are dead ends, and that's something that's been really important for me to recognize. There are people who are not gonna engage with me no matter how friendly and carefully and tactfully I try to approach people. There are conversations that are just not gonna happen, and I don't need to exhaust all of my mental and emotional energy and time trying to bring people around who don't want to deal with it.
Yeah, just to sort of and so I think that's an important aspect to affecting real change, meaningful change, is relationship building, and that ability for us to vocalize in our relationships with our peers and say okay, when people say and do, first of all, we have to name that invisible power in order to be able to even combat it, right? So we have to be sharing resources and conversations like this with each other to get to a point where we can start to see and acknowledge and name when things are going awry in order to move towards, because the reality of the answer to your question is that it's an intergenerational process, and that it's going to take a long time. And I think also that cultural production is such an essential aspect of that as well, and so I think that means first of individually as a media maker, the fact that I can use short films as a way to self-represent as a queer Indigenous woman is super empowering, and other queer Indigenous people and Indigenous people in general are really, they value that. And so I think it's important to be uplifting each other as we are creating resources, whether it's poetry, spoken word, hip-hop, film, even if it's zines, we have to create resources to share, right? And then And then like there's so many aspects of that conversation that are just unnameable because the conditions haven't even arisen yet to begin to understand how to move forward into like, you know, that better world that everyone's talking about that's possible, you know? And like personally, you know, for me, one of the first things that has to happen is the abolition of the settler colonial nation state, and we need to find ways to move forward that don't exploit the land, or the peoples from the land, and that we can also move forward in acknowledging difference, right? And so how can we hold, you know, black and brown and red and yellow and white body? Well, you know, you don't have to have white people, but I'm just kidding. No, maybe. I do have white friends though, for the record. You know, but like how can we hold all those differences at the same time and together, right? How can we have like, and like for instance, like something that like, especially today's Trans Day of Remembrance, and like, as someone who's gender fluid, but also femme, like, the gender binary comes from colonization, you know? And so like, how can we come again to a place into the future where we don't automatically associate genitals with gender? You know, how can we come to that? Socialization. You know, and it's intergenerational, so it's going to take like people having babies and raising them in ways that are awesome, you know? And it also takes like lifting each other up and holding those conversations together and pushing each other and just being honest that yes, structural violence is real, and we have internalized and externalized all kinds of forms of oppression. And so we have to hold each other accountable, and we have to be fierce and loving and also tough in order to work through that, you know? And so that's my...
Yeah, thank you, because all the things that you both were saying is so amazing, you know, and it's true. But I just want to finish, like, you know, this answer with a quote from people that I really admire and inspire me, you know, the Zapatistas, you know. They were like holding there, protecting their community for how many years already, somebody knows? 21 years is gonna be in 2015. You know, there is a quote that I always like. They always say, caminando preguntamos, you know, we're walking and we're asking questions. You know, they even recognize we don't have the answers. We don't know, but in that process of transforming ourselves, challenging ourselves, being accountable with ourselves, you know, with others, you know, we want to fight the questions, you know. The struggle can stop because we don't have the whole picture of how it's going to be this better society or new world, but in the process, you know, engaging in that struggle, in the process engaging in support and solidarity, we want to find those questions ourselves, you know, with other people, you know. So that's what I say in collective liberation, that's what we're talking about. You know, it's not about fighting one thing, you know, it's all tied together. It's all tied together.
Just thinking about just what everybody's sharing right now about cultivating relationships is just as important as, you know, focusing on the agenda that people have, you know, within their work. And so I just want to share that also that comes from a place of not just, perhaps, you know, anger, but also from a place of love. And so thinking about, I was right now from Harsha Walia that was sharing that, you know, cultivating relationships and accountability is learning and acting from a sense of responsibility and necessity, not from a place of guilt. So I think that's something that we also have to think about and carry, you know, every day in the work that we do, so that way we don't just, it's a never-ending process, and I think that's what I think Victor was saying right now. So to keep that in mind for everything that we do in our everyday.
So we're just a touch over time, obviously, that never happens, right? I want to thank you all for being here. I want to invite people to take the literature, to eat some of the amazing food that we have outside from our friends at Tea's Mexican Grill and Catering. Enjoy that. Take these conversations with you back into your spaces, wherever that may be. Continue them. And also come back into this room in about 10 minutes after you grab your food and go to the bathroom, swim Sarah, whatever you gotta do, because we are really honored to have some amazing artists here with us tonight. Amanda's gonna give Amanda's gonna Amanda's gonna do some spoken word. We also have Doobie and Ade here, who's gonna do some spoken word. And Enogo Lumumba Kasongo, who is AKA Samus. Woo! I'm really excited. They're going to do some spoken word performances in here for us, and of course we thank Kevin Cruz for his beautiful piece of artwork in the back that he created especially for this event. Thank you all, thank you for being with us.